Riot's empire is falling apart. I had a feeling something is happening at Riot, because we're getting a voice chat. Also, Riot's marketing team is embracing the content creators, which has never happened in the past 12 years. So I have a suspicion that maybe things at Riot Games are truly that bad. So let's see.
You know, with the High Guard situation, it kind of made sense. It's a new company that doesn't have all the money in the universe. But this one's about Riot. They do have a lot of money, though they're struggling to put the S in Riot Games because their most recent game launched a month ago. Yes, a new game from Riot. Loads of people have no idea though.
The best part is, even if you are a League of Legends player, you should be getting some promotion in here, right? I don't think we got any promotion. Even though we're using the same goddamn client. Hold on, what is the thing? There it is. There it is. Like, where is the game? New. The only thing we got is that little underscore, that little text that said new in here. That's all the promotion Riot is doing for this game. Lovely.
I had no idea. Now, the development team has just been cut in half, and it's just the latest in a string of money-driven decisions because maybe Riot's infinite money tap is running dry. You see, a decade ago, League of Legends was unstoppable, so Riot expanded. New genres, new games. They bought indie teams outright, and
Riot Games acquired Hypixel. I am glad that Hytale went back to its original creator.
Spent millions trying to build a grand empire. And then, post-pandemic, something seems to have changed. We've seen them circle the wagons around League's monetization. You know, $300, $400 skins. There's experiments like Riot Forge, which seemed promising, but were killed. There's Hytale being cut loose. And now Riot are so afraid of losing out that they won't even try to give a game a chance if it doesn't succeed off the bat. And to me, it's an insane story, because maybe this game could have got word of mouth over time, or any of those things that could have got people into it. I don't know about you, but most of the people I know, even ones who do care about fighting games, had kind of no idea, didn't really notice that it launched. This is weird, so let's get into it. The game is called 2XKO. Not exactly the most SEO-friendly title, not exactly the most memorable one. Maybe that didn't help them, but their staff had worked on this game for nearly a decade.
Spent a decade working on 2XKO, revealed he was laid off with 30 minutes notice yesterday. Imagine sacrificing your life, giving 10 years, giving a decade of your life to the company that fires you with a 30-minute notice. Well done, Riot. Well done, truly. One of the loved companies out there.
And some were laid off with about 30 minutes notice. On February 9th, 20 days after launch, Riot announced that 50% of the dev team, around 80 people, would be laid off. Something went deeply wrong with the launch of Riot's very own fighting game. And the thing is, we know this is because of the weak console release. And that has happened just 3 months after PC Early Access. And we know because Riot said it themselves. Here's the quote. As we expanded from PC to console, we saw consistent trends in how players were engaging with 2XKO. The game has resonated with a passionate core audience, but overall momentum hasn't reached the level needed to support a team of this size long term.
Same thing you said about giving away Hextech chests. It's not sustainable. But here we are, giving away Hextech chests. So it is possible.
You know, it's funny, for a company who really does seem to be okay with investing lots of money into big projects that will take a long time, say the MMO, it seems they weren't willing to invest the time needed for this game to be live and perhaps grow and improve based on player feedback. Because, I'm going to be real with you, something like this happening, I think, is counter to the goal of this game eventually turning right. So what's happened is the team is being downsized. Laid off staff will get a chance to apply for jobs elsewhere within Riot, and anyone who can't will get 6 months of severance. But judging by those who have already announced they were laid off, there are fighting game specific staff who simply won't be able to jump ship to somewhere else within Riot. They're just not making other games like it. And as for the game itself, it ain't dead. Riot still have plans to support development.
Let's see if it's dead or not. How to tell if the game is dead or not? We go to Twitch category. The League is in second place. The schedule streaming. He is. Okay, yeah, I see. Right, now let's look for 2XK. Oh, Deadlock had 10k viewers, and Deadlock is still in closed beta or alpha. Oh, there it is. There it is, chat. 800 viewers. game might be just dead on arrival.
And have community-led competitive play, just in a way that reflects how much money they think they can make from it. I mean, they're still teasing and showing off new characters, so the game isn't dead.
New characters, didn't they end up releasing like 8 characters in total after working a total of 10 years on this game?
But here's the thing with this game. 2KXO was always going to struggle. It's a free-to-play niche subgenre of fighting game that I think would always be tough to make money from, especially when the competitors are paid products. You see, even...
Yeah, but Riot's approach towards it was selling the skins. Make the same product as League of Legends in terms of monetization. Because what the 2XKO did was, at the very first thing, instead of promoting the game, they were promoting the skins in the game. We got skin advertisements before we got the game.
With heavily monetized cosmetics and battle passes, 2XKO never really had the roster to support massive spending. Now, their new smaller dev team does mean lower costs, sure, but this pragmatism feels absurd the second you zoom out and look at the overall picture. Because this game was in development for 10 years, and Riot somehow didn't have a problem with it until now. So what's happened? What's changed? There's one thing you need to know, and it kind of kicks off the whole trajectory of this. In 2016, it was a bit of a different Riot Games.
2016 was 10 years ago. Somehow this sentence hurts me more than it's supposed to. I disagree. 10 years ago was 2006. That's the way my mind operates. I'm missing a decade.
Now, they purchased Radiant Entertainment. This was part of the same surge of acquisitions and investment that led them towards Hytale, Riot Forge, and even to Valorant. Obviously that one worked out. And it wasn't some random indie pickup either. No, Tom...
It was a fever dream. It was. Let's just say I believe our existence as we know it ended the moment they shot that damn gorilla.
And Tony Cannon are the people who launched EVO, and they worked on the creation of the rollback netcode. The big thing that everyone talks about in the FGC. The thing that, devs would be hounded to add because without it, it just feels completely antiquated. So these aren't guys who just participated in the fighting game community. They quite literally built the infrastructure that a lot of the FGC runs on. Now, their studio had been building Rising Thunder. It was a free-to-play fighter that they were making with Seth Killian, another FGC legend, also being on board, so there was real pedigree and talent. Now, the game was cancelled after the Riot acquisition, though it was released to the community with open source servers. Pretty sweet, but obviously it's not that game that Riot acquired them for. They acquired them basically because of their experience. So instead, the Cannons and their team shifted to Project L.
No, that's a lovely name. Surely, the name itself is not foreshadowing the state of the game, eh?
Project L is the game that would become 2XKO. And if anyone could make a fighting game work at Riot, it was surely this team and these people. Now, in 2019, they confirmed a new fighting game was in the works, with some early hints that it would feature League of Legends characters. Tests in 2023 and 24 revealed the name of the game, 2XKO. Of course, named because you would need 2 knockouts to win. That's kinda cute. But, well, if you're a League of Legends player, you maybe won't know what that is, naturally. If you're any other human, you may recognize KO and think knockout.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Isn't that the case?
So sure, a fighting game, but it doesn't feel like a brand. It feels like a cute descriptor. And honestly, it's...
Darius is cute. Ari is cute. No, not the Timo. Oh, yes. Yes, the Timo. I have no idea who is that. Boom, nightmare fuel. Let's start off Monday, right, with a little bit of Lovecraftian horror right here.
And honestly, it's my opinion that...
Also, what's wrong with fucking malnourished Warwick? I'm not saying this Warwick might be a fentanyl user, but... brother, eat something.
It's my opinion that name and such a misfire with branding just completely killed the chances that this would have. I think this was a negative multiplier on everything that they did. Look at other game names. Killer Instinct, Street Fighter. They just make more emotional sense than the silly name that this game has.
Well, yeah, I'ma be absolutely honest. 2XKO as a name for a video game is on the same level a smart decision as when Elon Musk was naming his child with fucking alphabetical and different letters, you know?
Especially because, while they had lead characters, there was a massive lack of branding, and the cross-promotion stuff wasn't really that successful. And unlike Hytale, which launched a week earlier, 2XKO just couldn't break through the January doldrums to reach big new audiences. But it might actually be Hytale that exposes 2XKO's biggest problem. Because just like that game, Riot clearly decided that they needed to make money, and the 10 years of development suddenly needed to deliver. Emphasis on the suddenly. And now for the context that makes this all click. So whenever Hytale was cancelled, it was because Riot could no longer invest the funds necessary to ship the game as intended. As intended being the big operative there. Because even though Hytale has launched and has been a big success, it's not the type of success that Riot would have wanted. To Riot, Hytale had to be a Riot-quality AAA game across all of the different platforms. That's why, as an example, they did the big engine rewrite, which humongously damaged the development process of that game, and of course, that's all work that has been scrapped for the Hytale that we now have. And what that insane scope meant is that Hytale was just a game that would happily be taking Riot money to build this big Riot quality AAA thing forever until something changed at Riot. And they suddenly needed something that needed to be shipped or sold, and relatively quickly.
Yeah, I'm telling you, something recently changed at Riot. Like in the past, I want to say 3 months, 6 months, something changed within the company.
With Hytale, that was simply not possible because of where it was. 2XKO was almost certainly in a similar place, just that it was eminently more shippable as compared to Hytale. And what's rough is that that development team, along with others, like some of the Hytale people, they were victims of Riot's hubristic belief that things would never change. Because for nearly 10 years, Riot was comfortable just letting developers simply build, simply develop. Now, they'd been fully acquired by Tencent in 2015. They had League of Legends money. Over the next 5 years, they would have Runeterra money, Valorant money, lots of money. And this meant not a lot of near-term financial pressure. They had more cash than they needed. So what they needed to do with that cash was reinvest it. That's a noble goal, but when you get blasé about money, well, reality can hit you damn fast. Let's take a look at the projects. Riot Forge was never going to make games as successful as League, but to Riot at the time it was about expanding their world. Empire building. Arcane was costly, but for many people, it's the best thing that Riot's ever been involved with.
Because that's the fact. Some might say League of Legends is the best thing they've ever made, but you would be lying to yourself. Or, what would be even worse, if you haven't watched Arcane. When you think about it, this has got to be the best animated series big corporate money can buy you. Nothing comes even close to it.
Quality-wise. And they brought up indie teams like Hypixel and Radiant to make sure those studios could deliver on the promise of their pitched games. You know, not a game that would come out sort of early access, not really finished, maybe a bit of a high guard situation. No, that they would benefit from the Riot money to fully deliver the promise of their games. Riot could give time, funding, and resources, things that are not abundant in the games industry. And they're things that are important to do work. Do you know what game we praised last year for that exact process? It was this tiny little game, I think about bugs, called Silksong. There's a few...
I mean, I still need to complete that game. I feel like that's what we're doing anytime soon. Because I just complete Expedition 43 right now. Has got to be the most beautiful game I've played ever, period. But speaking of top games of 2025, I'm still struggling with Act 2 and Silksong. So yeah, we'll need to do that.
Future then, where maybe Riot didn't shit out 2XKO, where it actually got time and its release would have been good enough to capture people's attention. But rather obviously, something inside Riot changed. Let's look at what happened pretty much the moment that it changed. January 2024, it saw layoffs of approximately 11% of Riot. That's 530 people. Riot Forge was ended. Legends of Runeterra lost staff and shifted to PvE as interest in PvP waned. October brought another round. It was smaller, but it was telling. It was 32 people from the League of Legends team itself.
Oh, hold on. When was it? October 2024.
Round. It was smaller, but it was telling. It was 32 people from the League of Legends team itself. Then came the doubling down on expensive monetization heavy trends for League of Legends. We've talked about those a fair bit in the last few years. It's often been...
Yeah, the combo mechanics. Yeah, you know what I know. Wait, hold on. Do we have a combo right now? I'm surprised. The one thing I'm surprised about is that it's not on the front page. Because I clearly remember that shit being the first thing you see when you open the League client. If you press League in here, that should be ending up in the front page. The first thing we got was the Gamba. Is this the one? Not front page, but hold on, enter the sanctum. Of course it is. Okay, they moved Gamba to page number 2. Got it. My drop rate. Show me the drop rates. That is going to be 0.5% drop rate. Honestly, not bad. As someone who's been farming Invincible in Icecrown Citadel for more than half a year, let's just say this 0.5 ain't bad. Ain't bad. No.
The likes of gacha systems with, yes, a built-in pity, but a built-in pity that pretty much means you're going to be spending an absurd amount of money to get...
Hold on, show me the number again. I missed... $10.7 billion. That's how much money is generated by esports gambling associated with Riot Games, Valorant, and League of Legends. As such, morals be damned, Riot wants a cut. I mean, cannot blame the guys.
Some of the hyper-expensive skins that they've put into that game. Of course, hyper-expensive skins that are fueled by FOMO. Then there's the monetization and loot box changes that had to be walked back so that players, still felt that they had a reason to engage with the game. It was crazy. And then by 2025, Hytale was cancelled and sold. Clear.
Hot take. I feel like the Hextech Chest fiasco got blown out of proportions.
Clearly, then, the boom years were over, and the projects that remained had to pay the price. And normally when I'd say that, it would be, like a metaphor or something, but it's actually literal here. They needed to make money. They needed to pay for themselves, and fast. Hytale could not do that. At least not the version of Hytale that Riot would be, comfortable releasing. So that was killed. Then there's Riftbound, the card game, which by all accounts has actually worked out well. It seems highly in demand, stock is hard to come by, so that did succeed immediately. But then there's 2XKO. It had to pay for itself. That meant that it had to come out, and luckily, or unluckily for them, they were close enough to having a releasable product that they had to release it. Of course, it did not immediately work, and clearly Riot is not interested in slow growth. The line needs to go up. It needs to go up fast. And for game development teams, that means that they cannot hone their product market fit while their game is live.
Now the question I have is the same fate awaits Riot MMO. Let's suppose there's not going to be enough marketing for Riot MMO. Will it fail on the same level as 2XKO failing right now? I don't think so, due to the overall demand for a proper MMO. Because we don't have MMOs right now that aren't a decade plus old,
I mean, they can try to do that. The 2XKO team probably will try, but they've just lost half of their number. And is any potential player of that game going to look at it and think, I know what I'll do. I'm going to spend money in this game that they just laid off half the team of?
Yep.
No. Be it for good or ill, people do actually see their spending in games as a bit of an investment. People don't want to invest in a loser. And that, I think, has killed them. Killed might be too harsh. The remaining team are there, but they do just face an uphill battle. Not only do they have to pick up the pieces of the development plans that their colleagues were building and somehow deliver on them, because, they'll have made all of their plans with their team size into account. If you slash the team size, it's not like you can just yeet half the plans away and have something that works. No, you have to re-plan. That's going to hurt them. Delivering all that will be really hard, and
how can any of us get behind a new Riot game ever again? Yeah, let's just say this whole debacle with 2XKO is not doing any favors to the well of Riot MMO. Let's just say his well has been poisoned a little bit right now.
And as I said, they've now got to contend with the perception of the layoffs. This game was already a tough pitch. It was peeling players off current and legacy fighting games. Those players have to believe that there's something worth investing their time into learning and their money into skins. That takes time. That's the real problem. Because whenever layoffs happen just 1 month into the full release life of a game, it sends a powerful signal that says, if you haven't started playing this, you actually made the right call.
Yeah, isn't this what happened to High Guard? Didn't they fire most of their team a week into the game?
And you shouldn't bother. Now, I'm not dumb. I know there's a balance sheet. I know the balance sheet should probably look reasonable. But the thing here is, I think that this was just a little bit self-defeating. Because in managing their balance sheet, I think they have killed any near to medium term chance of this game experiencing meaningful growth. 2XKO is not dead, but from the outside, it sure doesn't look like it's going anywhere. What frustrates me is this didn't have to happen. Riot is not an indie developer who can't afford a few months of running at a loss. Now, they are entitled.
What do you mean not an indie developer? Have you seen League of Legends client for the past 15 years? If that's not a crucial sign, if that's not a dead giveaway that this thing has been created by an indie company, I don't know what is.
To cut their losses, sure, especially after 10 years of development and a studio acquisition. But to do so this fast? That's weird. And here's what makes it sting. The game is actually really good. The FGC loves it mechanically. Not all of them. I know it's not one monoblock of people called the fighting game community who all have the same opinions, but it seems genuinely praised in its mechanics. It hit third most downloaded free-to-play title on PlayStation at console launch. So this is not a bad game that failed. It's a good game that got abandoned because the growth curve was not steep enough. Here's the thing.
Also, that's the game that did not receive any marketing towards it.
You may remember a long time ago on this channel, we talked about a presentation done by Torolf Jernström. He was working in the mobile games niche. And this was years ago, but one of the core things was talking about the amount of time it takes from a player to become a payer. And in the games industry, that has only increased and increased over time. But the point basically...
Yeah, good, because the quality of the games have been decreasing and decreasing. There is a correlation between converting a user from just a user to a payer and the quality of the game going down.
Is if you launch on console and then kill your game a month later, even per the mobile game stats from that talk, most of your players were nowhere close to becoming a payer. You actually need to let things run. People will buy skins once they get attached to those characters, once they get attached to the game, once they have memorable wins that have came after months and months of getting better. That's when someone buys a skin. So to see a month of weak skin sales on PlayStation and pull the plug? Not even a month. I believe it was 3 weeks. That's stupid. That actually looks self-defeating. I'm kind of...
Riot and stupid in the same sentence. Nah, I don't think we're talking about the same company. My company is the smartest company out there.
Shocked. And the sad thing is, this is a really good game. And maybe it's just that Riot didn't have the patience to let that game get into its groove. And in doing this the way that they've done it, they may have just shot it in both of its kneecaps. So yes, it's not dead, but when I say it isn't going anywhere, or doesn't look like it's going anywhere, yeah, because it can't move anymore. Because Riot have hamstrung it. Because they've done the equivalent of seeing their struggling game lying on the floor and just put up a sign that says, "Plague, stay away." Bit of a weird metaphor, whatever, but I think it gets the point across.
It does. It truly does.